Now we talked about Azure Compute Services in yesterday's session. Now, apart from that, we have Azure Networking Services. So the first point is come networking. Why we require networking in the cloud? So the reason why we require virtual networks in the cloud, so in order to segregate your resources from others, you get your private network inside Azure. So without creating a private network, you will not be able to communicate with your resources. And also, if you want to communicate over the internet, let's say you have created a virtual machine or deployed a virtual machine, which is a web server, and you want to communicate on the internet, right? So you require virtual network. Or if you want that internal, you have created multiple virtual machines, they should communicate with each other. You require virtual networking. So the first component of networking is virtual private network gateway, which helps you to send encrypted traffic between Azure Virtual Network and your on-premise location over the public internet. So you will have virtual network and Azure. You will have your Azure Virtual VPN gateway. You will have your on-premise network, and you will be creating a tunnel between both of your virtual private network. Then we have Azure Express Route. Azure Express Route will help you to extend your on-premise networks into the Azure with a private connection. Now, this connection is facilitated by a third-party service provider. Microsoft doesn't provide this connection. Yeah, it will help you. Who will be the service provider, right? They will provide you the services and you can connect through those service providers, right? So here you have your own network. You have partner edge location by third party service provider. You will have your own connection on the Microsoft Edge locations, and using those, you can connect to your cloud services which are provided by Microsoft. So you can see we have three layers of it. So first is traffic to Microsoft 365 services and CRM online. Second, the purple line is traffic from of public address, traffic to public IP addresses and Azure. Third is traffic to virtual networks. These three separate networks will be distributed from your partner edge service provider. So it might not be necessary you need all three. You need only traffic to Microsoft 365 services, or you only need traffic to virtual networks. So depending upon your requirement, you can go with either of the options or all of the options. Then we have Azure DNS, right? So it is a DNS service provided by the Azure, right? So what is the benefit of DNS? It helps in name resolution service. It is a name resolution service. So in order to resolve your private or public networks, you require a DNS service. So that is known as Azure DNS. Then we have storage service. So under storage service, first of all, you need to create a storage account in order to access any kind of storage services. Without a storage account, you will not be able to access any kind of storage services. So once you have created a storage account, you can have storage services. Apart from that, we have storage redundancy. Now, what is the benefit of storage redundancy? So let's say we are storing a data in a single data center or in a single region which has multiple availability zones or multiple data centers, right? Now one data center is down, so how you will access your data? You will not be able to access your data, so you require a redundancy. So you can have a local redundant storage or a zone redundant storage. Local redundant storage means, let's say your data is stored in rack 1, the another copy will be stored in rack 3 or rack 5. So if my rack 1 server is down, rack 5 server will help us to access the services. So that is local redundant storage. So you're storing a backup in the same region, in the same data center, just the rack is different or server space is different. Then we have zone redundant storage, ZRS. So we have ideally 2 to 3 availability zones per region. We have 2 to 3 availability zones per region. So one copy will be stored in the first data center in one data center of the same region, whereas another copy will be stored in another data center of the same region. That is zone redundant storage. Third is geo redundant storage. So the primary copy will be stored in the uh, single region in a single data center of the first in a single region, and another copy will be stored in another secondary region. That means, for example, if I talk about first local redundant storage, let's say we have Pune data center, Pune region. Under Pune region, we have three availability zones. That means three data centers. So first availability zone, in that your in the single data center itself, your two copies of data will be stored. In the zone redundant storage, in the Pune region itself, first copy stored in first availability zone, another copy stored in another availability zone. Third is geo redundant storage. In geo redundant storage, your first copy is stored in, for example, in Pune region, and the second copy stored in Chennai region, for example. I'm just taking hypothetical examples. Then we have geo zone redundant storage. So, and that what will happen, your first copy will be stored in the primary region, that is in Pune, for example, as well as the same copy will be stored in another availability zone of that primary region. And the third copy will be stored in another secondary region, for example, Chennai. So you'll be having three copies. So that is geo zone redundant storage. And we can see the durability of each zone is different. For local and zone redundant storage, it is 11 to 12 nines durability, and the geo redundant storage provides 16 nines. 16 nines means you will write 9 11 times. That is the durability. So it is almost nil, or equivalent to nil downtime. Equivalent to nil downtime, no downtime, you can say technically. So in Azure storage services, you have blob storage, which help us to store unstructured data such as text or binary data. You have disk storage, which helps us to provision disk space or disk for your virtual machines, applications, and other services. Then we have Azure Files, which is like a shared file server or file share that will help you to access using the SMB protocol. As we create a file share on our Windows server, the same concept is Azure Files without deploying any file server. Now you have storage service public endpoints. So how you can access your storage publicly, right? So you can see you have all the URLs defined. So it is saying storage account name dot blob dot co dot windows dot net if you want to access blob storage. If you want to access data lake storage, it is dfs dot co dot windows dot net. Azure files, so storage name, storage account name dot file dot co dot windows dot net. If you want to access queues, then storage account name dot q dot co dot windows dot net. If you want to access tables, storage account name dot table dot co dot windows dot net. So only the storage account name will vary. Rest URLs are standard. So you don't need to memorize it. It has a standard. For blob, it has blob.co.windows. For Azure files, it has file.co.windows.net. For queue, it is queue.co.windows.net. And for table, table.co.windows.net. Azure storage account information you can find from your Azure itself. Or if you want to remember, you can remember it. But if you have multiple storage accounts, it might not be easily possible to remember, right? So you can fetch the storage account information and you can browse with the public URL. Condition, you should have permitted that it should be publicly accessible, because you need to explicitly permit that the data would be publicly accessible. Clear till here?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's clear, sir.
Now we have storage access tiers, right? So now what is the use of these access tiers? So the first foremost factor here affects is the cost. Hot tier is costlier than cool tier. Cool tier is costly than archive tier. If you want to store data for 180 days, minimum 180 days, and it will be accessed very less frequently, then you should go with archive tier. This data is generally stored here, which like backups, which you want to rarely access, right? Because it has very flexible latency and it takes huge time to retrieve the data in the archive tier. And the cool tier, it is recommended if you want to store data for minimum 30 days and it will be infrequently accessed, but you are storing the data. You will be accessing rarely, right? For example, any data which is for compliance team, right? So that will be, or for auditing team, it will be only accessed when the auditing team is performing auditing, right? So that is for cool tier. Hot tier, so this data, the data which is regularly accessed, frequently accessed, that is stored in the hot tier. So we'll be seeing these all practicals. So no need to worry. So Azure Migrate is a unified migration platform which helps you to migrate your resources from on-prem. Just a second. Yes, as I was discussing, Azure Migrate is a migration platform which helps you to perform migrations from AWS and Google Cloud providers to Azure or from your on-premise networks to Azure. It helps us you with the assessment and the migration services also. Now, it might not be full-fledged migration automation, but migration tool is there. Then Azure Data Box is there. So let's say if you have a lot of data in your on-premise network, so it is going to take time to upload that data in the cloud or migrate that data in the cloud. So what you can do, you can request Azure Data Box from Microsoft. They will send you a device, a hard drive, a rugged case, and you can pull your data or put your data, copy that your data to that case, and then you can courier that case to the Microsoft, and that is, am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Sorry, there is a power cut, so I switched to my mobile data. Okay, coming back. Just a moment. So as I was talking about Azure Data Box, so it is a data box provided by Microsoft where they will give you a case and you need to copy your data to that case. Now, you don't need to worry that it is secure or not. It is 100% secure because you need some keys to copy the data and the data can be accessed using those keys only. So nobody can access the data in transit or after transit also. So you can courier the data to data box to the Microsoft. Then Microsoft will copy that data to the Azure cloud. So you don't need to worry. Let's say, for example, you have 50 TB of data. If you're copying that 50 TB of data or migrating 50 TB of data, it can take couple of months But when you courier this, it will take 7 days, and in 1 to 2 days or maximum in another 7 days, data will be copied over there. So within 15 days, you can have your services up and running. So you don't need to worry to wait for multiple months for migration. Then we have file management options, or so how you can access your storage, or how you can sync your storage, or you can copy files to your storage. Just a second. Sorry. Yeah. So we have AZ copy tool, which is a command line tool. Then we have Azure File Sync, which can be installed on your machine, and we have Azure Storage Explorer. So File Sync keeps on syncing the files, and same the Azure AZ copy tool is a copy tool, as we have a command line tool, and Azure Storage Explorer is like a file explorer. You can drag and drop or upload the files from the Explorer itself. So you need to download and install Azure Storage Explorer. So we'll be uh, seeing the practical lab for Azure Storage Explorer and AZ copy tool. Then we have identity access management services and security services. So first of all, you have Azure Active Directory, as we have our on-premise Active Directory services and our Windows Server. In the cloud, we have Azure Active Directory services. So it is a cloud-based identity service or cloud-based identity and access management service, which helps to authenticate your users on the cloud. It has a single sign-on option. It can be managed for applications. It also helps in serving the purpose of B2B and B2C, and it helps in managing the devices also. Then we have Azure Active Directory to domain services. So Azure Active Directory services is a cloud-based service provided by Microsoft. You don't have complete access on that. Microsoft manages the Active Directory, whereas Azure Active Directory domain services, right? So on-prem we have we have Active Directory domain services. In the cloud, if you want your own private Active Directory domain services, then you need to go with Azure ADDS, whereas this is AAD. Both are different. Here you have complete control. You can have the Active Directory console, you can push the group policies, etc. And apart from that, you can connect both the Azure Active Directory as well as Azure Active Directory domain services. You can connect both with your on-premise Active Directory also. In Azure AD, you can sync it, but you have less control in the cloud. You have full control on the on-premise. Whereas in the Azure Active Directory domain services, if you don't have on-premise Active Directory also, in the cloud, you have full control, as we were reviewing the users in our Active Directory console. In the same manner, you can access those in the Active Directory console by installing our set tools. Then we have authentication and authorization services. So authentication means you need to validate who you are, and authorization means what kind of access you have to access the resources. That is the difference between authentication and authorization. Apart from that, we have MFA, multi-factor authentication. So multi-factor authentication helps you to not only log in with your password. After logging with password, you can validate through a code, through SMS, etc., in order to log in to your portal. So if your credentials are compromised also, the second factor authentication will help you to secure your account. Apart from that, you can integrate with external identities for B2B collaboration, where you have partners, vendors, suppliers, and another uh, identities, like, for example, the same identity you have on Azure or on Google Cloud or on Facebook, example. Right, so those identities also can be integrated with your Azure AD. Azure has support for that also. In the same manner, it has for B2C also. Also, you have conditional access policy, so you can define conditions in your Azure Active Directory to restrict authorization of the resources with the help of user or group membership, by the IP location, by device, by application, or by risk detection. So you can define conditions. So on the basis of that condition only, the authorization will be granted to a user to access the resources. Also, you have RBAC, role-based access control, which helps you to restrict users to which resources they have access to. You will be providing access to the users to log in to the Azure portal. Let's say Trisha is an admin, root admin of the Azure Active Directory, so she has complete control over the Azure resources. Now, around 500 resources are created in Azure. Shruti joins with the organization and Shruti needs access to some resources. So precisely you will provide access to those resources only. You will not provide access to all the 500 resources. So that can be done with the help of role-based access control. Also, you have security for zero trust. So it can help you protect assets anywhere with central policy, and also it can be a good approach compared to your classic approach or traditional approach where you restrict everything to secure your network. So here you don't need to restrict anywhere, but with the help of central policy, you can control what how you want to restrict. So it has zero trust policy also. And defense in depth. So you have a wide variety of security layers to protect your services in the cloud. So you don't need to worry of the security compromise. No doubt Microsoft has a responsibility to some extent, and to some extent you also have the responsibility. Apart from that, you have Microsoft Defender for cloud, which helps you to protect your services. It helps you to detect and block malware. It helps in identifying and analyzing potential attacks, and it can help you to provide just in time access controls for your ports also. And you can have a good dashboard with good analytics for your Defender services. You can see on the screen how Defender dashboard can appear if you are accessing a lot of things for Defender. So now what we are going to do, we are going to review a lab of creating an Azure account. So I would suggest either of you guys can share your screen, because I'm having already account on my Azure. So I'll guide you to create any of Rajesh or Krishna. You can share your screen where I'll guide you to create Azure account, and the other person can follow the same. So who's going to share?
Krishna will be sharing the screen, sir.
Yeah,
Sir, I connected through mobile. Just give me a minute. I will connect
yeah,
from
yeah.
laptop.
No worries, no worries.
Hi, sir.
Yeah, Krishna, please share your screen.
Yeah, I'm sharing my screen.
Yeah. So go to the new tab and
Okay.
Google search for Azure free trial account, Azure trial. Yeah, Azure free trial account. Right, so we will navigate to the first link. It is azure.microsoft.com/account/free. Now the as I conveyed, we require debit or credit card for creating the account. 2 rupees will be deducted for validation, right? So hold on. Close this, go back. Huh. Right, so it is asking start free trial. Yes, click on start free trial. Now, once you click on start free trial, here you need to give a valid email address for your Azure. Now, if you have any Microsoft account, right?
Yeah.
So then you can use that. If you don't have Microsoft account, then you need to create one on outlook.com. Remember, let's see, it is Outlook. How it came Outlook? It took automatically.
No, sir.
krishna.azure@outlook.com.
No, it
Oh,
is
okay.
No, it's not Outlook. Give 007.
give na Krishna.teja. Give Krishna.teja. Someone
Now
already
give
has this.
0.
Uh, Phone number is required field, sir.
Yeah, phone number is compulsory.
I made please, sir.
What happened?
I think he went to get the mobile, sir, for the verification code.
I just switched on my mobile, sir. The below details is all required. Address line,
Yeah,
this
yeah,
address information.
yeah. PAN ID is also required. At present, leave PAN ID, leave it. When it asks for compulsion, then only provide it.
Okay. Organization.
Give any name, Krishna Corporation or KT Corporation, KT Limited, anything.
You are on mute, Krishna.
Okay, I have given all the information, sir. So clicking next. Have to click next, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Mm. Here I have to give any card, right? Any card or only credit card, sir?
See, most of the times it will ask only for credit card. Try to give your debit card. If it uh, so here it says why do I need to provide a credit card or debit card? So it will work with debit card also.
Okay. Mm.
You can unshare your screen while submitting the card details. Once you click on submit, then you can reshare your screen because session is getting recorded and the same will go on to YouTube. That's why. Yes, Krishna.
Santosh sir, I don't have physical cards right now, so I checked in my mobile the digital
Hmm.
copy, but the
Hmm.
credit cards were no copies, no soft copies in my mobile, which I had like the credit cards expired last month.
And how you'll move ahead? What we'll do?
Like I'm in my cards are at my hometown, so but I am in my uncle's house, so today I will go and we'll create it.
Yes, Rajesh, can you share your screen and can
I
we come?
I don't have, sir. That's why I've asked Krishna to share. Currently, I don't have it. I didn't remember the name. I do need the number and CVV also. I don't have it with me handy.
Okay.
Hmm.
Then how we'll move ahead without, or shall I show how to
Yes, sir.
students?
Just a reference will be great. We'll try in the evening. We both will try and create it in the evening.
Right. So meanwhile, what I'll do, we'll walk through the Azure portal.
Hmm.
Let me log into the Azure portal. I hope my screen is visible.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Just a moment. That is visible, right?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
It is.
It's visible.
Right. So here you can see I have navigated to portal.azure.com, and here this is the home screen. This is not the dashboard, this is the home screen where you have your Azure services linked to your Azure services. You can directly create a resource from here, or you can click on more services to view all services. You have here recent resources which you had accessed. It will show when you had access last, right? Then apart from that, if we scroll down, you can see we have navigation menu, we have tools, etc. You can go to the Microsoft Learn also. If you want to learn in detail, here you have your Cloud Shell. Here you have filter button. Here you have notification area, right? Then here you have settings. So this will take settings to your subscription. Then here you have help or troubleshooting section, support section. Here you have feedback session, and here you have your login information. Apart from that, here you have menu. Once you click on the menu, you will be able to see four things primarily. First, you can create a resource from here directly. You can click and go to the home button. So this is my home button. You can go to the dashboard. So this is our dashboard. Then you have all services. If you click on all services page will be listed where you can see all the services based on the category. Right now, if we see on the left hand side, we have category section. So you can see we have categories. So these many categories are available. You have AI plus machine learning, analytics. So here you can see in AI plus machine learning, you have 22 services. In analytics, you have 21 services. In compute, you have 36 services. In containers, you have 9 services. In database, you have 21 services. So here you can navigate for as per the category, or you can scroll down and review what service is useful with you. Here you have around more than 280 plus services. If you don't remember the service, you can simply go to the search box and search for that service. It will take you to that specific service. For example, I want to search for virtual machines. So I can simply type virtual machine. So it is showing me the virtual machine section. I can click on the virtual machine section, and it is opening the virtual machine window where we can create or deploy or spin up new virtual machines, and we can use those virtual machines for our purposes. So let's try to create a virtual machine. We'll click on create. We'll select Azure virtual machine. So here the first section comes. See, here we have a lot of tabs. We have around 8 tabs. First is the basics tab, then disk, then networking, then management, then monitoring, then advanced, then tags, then reviews plus create. So I'll be explaining these tabs in the later on sections. So today I'll just uh, some pointers will be covered today. Other pointers will be covered gradually in another sessions. So first we have subscription. So we'll select our subscription. If you have multiple subscription, you can select your relevant subscription. I have only one subscription. Then you can select your resource group. If you have resource groups, what I'll do, I'll create new resource group. I'll give the name as Azure December, right? Azure Dis. So this batch we started in December. So I'm giving Azure December, or I can give as December 2023. I'll say okay. Then I'll give the virtual machine name. So I'll say demo VM01. The region I need to select. So I'll select Central India. You can search for a territory. I'll select India. So you can see having three regions: Central India, South India, West India. I select Central India. Availability zones. At present, I don't need any availability or infra redundancy. I'll say I don't need no infra redundancy. Security type, I'll go with standard. Image, now what kind of image you need? So here you have Windows, Linux, anything you want, you can select. So I'll select, for example, Windows Server 2019 machine. I need Windows Server 2019 machine. Virtual machine architecture, I'll select 64 bits. Size, now size is the important factor for your cost. Now my subscription is MCT subscription, so my cost will vary comparative to your cost. Right. So your cost may be higher for the same size of machine. So don't need to worry. The important catch is here. If you are not using the resources, you need to power it off immediately. If you don't need, if you no longer need the resources, delete them immediately, or else it will keep on billing you and your balance, whatever Microsoft allocates you for first 30 months, for 30 days or the first month, that will be consumed very fast because the pricing will be little bit higher compared to my pricing. So here some sizes will be recommended, right? So you can see it has two virtual CPUs and 4 gigs of RAM. Cost is 2,600 per month. Four virtual CPU, 16 GB of RAM, 12,040 rupees per month. One virtual CPU, 3.5 GB of RAM, 4,820 rupees per month. So depending upon, if you are not sure what size you need, you can still go to see all sizes. So it will open new window and it will show you what is the CPU size, what is the RAM size, how many data disks you can connect, what is the IOPS of the hard drive, and what is the cost per month. Right, cost per month is very important because depending upon your cost, you will be billed. So I'll close this and I'll select my size as two virtual CPUs, 4 GB of RAM. If you have lesser price, if you see this, my cost is 2,600, but my 3.5 gigs of RAM machine is costlier. If you feel that there is much difference in the price, you can select the cheaper machine. You should have minimum one virtual CPU and 3.5 GB RAM, or two virtual CPU and 4 GB of RAM. This is the minimum configuration you will require for labs, right? So now it is asking give the administrator name, the machine administrator who will log in. So I'll say give the name as SP admin. Password I'll give. I have assigned the password. Now it is asking inbound port rules. Now when I want to access the machine, I need to access through RDP because the machine will be live host deployed in Central India data center. I'm not sitting in that data center. So precisely I'll be accessing it remotely through port number 389, which is the RDP port number. So if I select none, no port will be allowed. At present, allow selected port. So one port is allowed, that is 3389. So I'll leave it as it is. We'll move next to disk. So at present, you can see it is automatically creating a OS disk of 127 GB. So I leave that disk as default. For data disk, I'm not creating any data disk. Data disk lab we'll see separately in coming lectures. We'll move to networking. So it is automatically creating a virtual network in the name of demo VM01. I can create a virtual network first, then I can deploy a virtual machine to that network. That is also possible. That lab will also cover when we are core studying core networking. So at present, I'll give the leave the virtual network which it is creating. It is assigning a default subnet of 10.0.0.0.0/24. Public IP it is creating because I'll be able to access my virtual machine remotely through a public IP. Then public inbound ports it is allowed 3389. I'll tick tick on this option, delete public IP and neck when VM is deleted. So when my virtual machine is deleted, my public IP and an IC card should be deleted, or else I'll be billed every month for the public IP after machine is deleted also. Though I don't use it, but I'll be billed. Load balancing option, I'm not going to use at present any load balancing options, so we'll go with none. We'll move to management. Now, I don't want to go with Microsoft Defender for cloud. So it is saying your subscription is protected by Microsoft Defender for cloud basic plan. If you want more advanced option, you need to go with premium plan. So at present, I'll not do anything. I'll just enable auto shutdown option. So my machine will auto shut down if accidentally my machine is on. Right? I'm not going to use it whole day long because this is my lab machine. It is not my production machine. I forgot to shut down the machine. So my machine will automatically get powered off at 7 p.m., 5 p.m., whatever time you mention, as per the time zone you mentioned. So I'll give the time zone as plus 5:30. That is my Indian time zone. So at evening 7 p.m., my machine will get automatically shut down. Half an hour before you will receive an email on the given email address, right? A notification before shutdown. You whatever email address you give here, you will receive notification on that email address. By default, it has taken the email address with which account I have registered. We'll move next to monitoring. We'll don't do anything here. We will leave default. We'll move to advanced. Again, we will not do anything here. We'll move next. Tax. I'll cover on later on tax session in the second session of deploying the virtual machine, maybe on Monday. We'll click on review plus create and validation passed successfully. So I'll be billed 3.5 rupees per hour. Apart from that, I'll be also billed for the hard disk storage and the public IP. We'll click on create. It is deploying my virtual machine. You can see a notification has popped up deployment in progress. Deployment is in progress. Let it be in the deployment stage. Once it is completed, it will take hardly a moment, 1 minute. So deployment succeeded. We have successfully deployed the virtual machine. Now, if we navigate to go to the resource, we can go to the resource directly, or we can create another VM, or eventually we can go to the home page, virtual machines, and we can see we have deployed the virtual machine successfully. My virtual machine is in the running state. Location is Central US. It is binded to a group, resource group, December 2023, which is part of the subscription, my subscription name. And this resource is part of this resource group. It is showing operating system as Windows. Size is standard B2S. For me, it is two virtual CPUs, 4 GB of RAM, but 5 for Microsoft. It is standard B2S. So when we'll be talking about virtual machines in detail, we'll be understanding what is the sizing difference. It has a public IP address of 20.204.51.174, and it has one disk attached. Clear till now? Any doubts?
No, sir.
Clear,
Clear.
sir.
Right. So for today, we'll keep this much only. We'll resume the session again on Monday.
Okay, sir.
Okay. So then we'll see how to access the virtual machine. Then we'll deploy a Linux virtual machine and we'll see how to access that virtual machine. And then we'll move in more details of the Azure. Okay.
Okay, sir. Okay.
And thank you guys for joining the session and
Thank you, sir.
happy weekend. The recordings will be uploaded by EOD. Okay.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you,
Bye.
sir.
Thank you.